Welcome to Under the Lights, presented by Bush's Chicken. Hey, folks, we've got a special show today. We're going to talk a lot about realignment, which happened this week. But before we get started, I want to tell you what's going to happen with Under the Lights this year. For the past 8 seasons, we've been on the radio. We spent many seasons with the Horn and then last season with AM 1370. But, we always felt like people might have missed our show because they couldn't tune in Tuesday nights at 7 or whenever we were on. So we're going to go to YouTube and have audio and video this year. I also want to give a special shout out to my partner since show number 1, Jeff Power. Jeff has gotten real busy with what he's doing with his work. So we're going to bring in a longtime contributor to Under the Lights, my good friend, Rodney Rodriguez. Rodney, we're going to have some fun this year.
Yeah, I think so, Rick. It's really exciting to use this platform. I mean, obviously with the IHS Fan Webcast Network, which folks that are checking in on YouTube right now, I mean, that's usually what you do on Thursday or Fridays. You jump on here and you get your football game. So now kind of transitioning the show over, I think that it's a really cool concept, and it does. I mean, it gives folks the availability to be able to check this stuff out where it's not so much on a timely manner. If you can't set an alarm for 7 o'clock to jump on here, you can certainly do it at your leisure. So really looking forward to this. It's going to be a lot of fun, Rick.
I imagine people even listen it on their way to the game because we'll, as always, we'll have coaches interviews, we'll have player interviews, we'll go over the schedules, talk about last week, and have a lot of fun. I want to thank our sponsors this year. Bush's Chicken is the title sponsor. They've been with us since show number 1. They're such great supporters of Austin area high school football. Dave Campbell's Texas Football is back. Eli Valentine and Reed Law Firm, we thank them. And Covert Ford, of course, is back as a sponsor. So we'll have a lot of fun. And before we get started into our talk about realignment, let's go ahead and hear from a few of those sponsors.
Bush's Chicken is a proud supporter of area schools, athletic programs, and booster clubs. With stores in Cedar Park, Round Rock, Georgetown, both North and South Austin, and our newest store serving Pflugerville and Hutto. Bush's serves the Texas standard in real hand-battered fried chicken and crispy tenders, tasty rolls, and that famous Bush's sweet tea. Bush's Chicken, proud supporter of area schools, athletic programs, and booster clubs. The Texas standard. Bush's Chicken. It's good, good, good.
Did you know there was a car crash every 57 seconds in Texas last year? Speeding drivers, failing to yield, unsafe lane changes, and driver inattention are big problems on the roads. If you've been injured in one of these unfortunate crashes, don't sweat it. Eli Valentine and Reed are your go-to lawyers for car crashes, dog bites, or bike crashes. Let our attorneys tackle the legal stuff while you focus on getting back to full health. No legalese, just plain talk and constant updates. Give Eli Valentine and Reed a call at 512-562-7000 or visit evrfirm.com.
Welcome back to Under the Lights, presented by Bush's Chicken. So every 2 years, the UIL gets together and they look at all the new schools that have been built. They also look at schools that may have gone up and down in their enrollment, and they determine new districts for the different classifications, 6A all the way down to 1A. And there's always some surprises, and this year was no different. It's interesting. So what I thought we'd do is we'd go over the districts and then talk to a few of the coaches. I got a chance this week to talk to a few of the coaches right after they got out of the realignment meeting. Basically, Rodney, what happens is at 9 a.m., about 200 coaches are crammed into a room, and they all got handed a packet, and they search to see if they're going to have to reschedule non-district games or add some non-district games. It's crazy. It's a madhouse.
I got to tell you, it's one of the coolest things that I always think about with this. I mean, there's always folks that are going to be disappointed. There are folks that are going to be happy on whatever that result's going to be. But just us living here in Texas, and with us in Central Texas, where we predominantly work with our show, I mean, the suburbs, to watch the growth and to see how everything fluctuates, to see these schools where maybe they're 5A D1, but they fall to D2. That doesn't happen very often with the growth that we see. It's the moving up stuff. And I think what's really cool is that this year maybe we've got some old rivalries that are renewed again, and it allows that. But it really is just a very tedious thing. And I'll tell you the best part for me, Rick. I mean, working in sports and doing different stuff. I look at UIL stuff online and on X and all the different things, and it's like people, the prognosticators are like, here's the way it's going to be, and then it's not even close.
No.
It's not even close.
Well, before we get to the districts, here's a couple of things that I noticed right off. Bastrop and Cedar Creek, they will now be in different districts. Interesting. In that school district, those are big time rivals. I assume they're going to play one of their non-district games against each other. Weiss and Anderson moved down this year from 6A to 5A. Weiss, who had that amazing run last year in 6A, looks to do some big things in 5A. Hutto, they go up and down, back and forth from 5A to 6A. They're going to be back in 6A, and we'll talk about that district and where they'll align. And two Austin area 6A districts. We had 3 districts last year with Austin area teams in 6A, with Weiss and Hutto in a district where they were playing teams from the north. And then, of course, we had 25 and 26 6A. This year, just 2 6A districts in the Austin area, 26 6A with 7 teams and 25 6A with 9 teams. And at the end of the show, I may talk a little bit about the thought process of, if you had 9 and 7, why? If you had 16 teams, why wouldn't you go 8 and 8? But that's a whole other story. Rodney, let's go over some districts here. 4A D1 Region 4, District 13. These are some Austin schools that moved down from 5A. Remember last year, the enrollment in the Austin schools, in many of the schools, is really diminishing as people you alluded to move out to the suburbs. But these schools have elected now to play in 4A classification. Austin Achieve, East Side will be in that district. LBJ, who should run the table once again, and may even get a state championship down in 4A. Remember we were out there,
exactly.
Played Stephenville.
Yeah.
Northeast, Travis, Manor, New Tech, and Taylor. So that's an Austin-centric district, and that'll be 4A D1 Region 4. Any thoughts on that district?
That really is a nice landing spot there for LBJ, and I think it goes without saying that we have to talk about, Jamal Finner.
Yes.
I mean, a great friend of the program, great friend of yours, great friend of mine. He has moved on to the University of Texas there in a role with that program. But LBJ in very capable hands right there. And that really is a situation to where your heart goes out to some of those AISD schools. And we've talked about it in the past to where, man, enrollment participation is just so rough. LBJ, though, even though they face the same problems, they've got very quality athletes, and they're sitting in a good spot. I like Taylor jumping in there. I think the Taylor edition is going to be
the Ducks.
The Ducks, quack, quack.
Yeah, and, LBJ, Coach Rawls took over for him last year. They've got a lot coming back. I know they got a great quarterback that we'll be talking about throughout the season. That is 4A D1. 5A D1, District 2, Region 2, District 8. 8 is Cedar Park, Georgetown, Eastview, Killeen, Chaparral, Lake Belton, Leander, Rouse, and Glenn. Wow. And that is a packed district that, whenever you get Cedar Park, Georgetown, Rouse, that's a packed district. We expect big things with that district.
It really does seem like that we're seeing a real reset right there. The run that Cedar Park had, obviously right now kind of shifting around in rebuild mode. But, man, those schools, Rick, they're all getting better.
Yeah,
they're all getting better. So you lump them in there. That it seems like, I don't care if it's 11, 12, 13, 14, whatever 5A D1 it is. When you put those guys together, man, that is just some of the best football you're going to find.
Some great games. And, Rouse, jumped up a few years ago. They were in 6A. Then they went to 5A D2.
On the move.
Now they're in 5A D1. So that's a District 8. We're going to have to get used to these districts. We're so used to District 11 is where they usually are. How about 5A D1 Region 3? So a different region, District 12. And this is where the Anderson Trojans wind up. They'll be with Cedar Creek, Hayes, College Station, A&M Consolidated, Lehman, your Lockhart Lions, Hendrickson, and Weiss. What a packed district that is going to be. A couple Pflugerville district schools, an AISD, and some teams from College Station and out in Buda.
Boy, that's some variety right there when you add all of those together. I know with the Brazos County schools, had a lot of calls, Thursday it was, when all of that came down for Lockhart as to where they were going to end up. Now, when I talk about curveballs, that was a huge curveball.
Yeah.
There were a lot of different spots where they thought they were going to be, but you got to look at that one right there, Rick, and it's like immediately I see Weiss, and I'm like thinking about all the other schools, and I'm like, man, welcome to the show, Weiss. That it's going to be for the taking right there again. There's a lot of balance of power. Hey, guys, right quick before we go any further, if you guys want to click that QR code right there, that is going to take you to this page. You can actually bookmark this thing on your phone, on your web device, whatever it is. You'll not only get Under the Lights this year, but you're also going to get your IHS Fan Webcast Network. All of that right there. Just click that QR code, and you are locked and loaded for the season.
That's awesome. These districts, some are 7 teams, some are 8 teams, and this one that we just discussed is 9 teams. What does 9 teams mean? That means 5 teams aren't making the playoffs.
Yeah.
Only 4 go. And it also means you have fewer non-district games. And in many cases, that's a good thing. And in some cases, it's not so good. I know I was in the room, and we'll hear from Hank Carter, the head coach of Lake Travis Cavaliers. First of all, he's got a hard enough time scheduling non-district games.
Nobody wants to play him.
Nobody wants to play him. And now he's got to add an extra one because they're a 7-team district. That means 4 non-district games, which they've got to find people. I think they've corralled enough people. They may have to travel a little bit, but they've got the team. But so that's big differences between the size of the districts.
Yeah. Rick, there was actually one thing, some of the video, a great video that you had yesterday, something that I did want to let the folks take a look at when it comes to scheduling those non-district games. Folks think that's all set in place. Well, it's not quite that easy. Here's a look at what it looks like trying to get that done.
Yeah, you see all the teams from all around the state. You had Midland Lee down there with a phone number. Please call me. We need a game. But that's how it is in these coaches meetings. They get their districts. Now they have to determine, okay, who are we playing in the non-district? That's a panic mode for some of these coaches. And it's just another thing on their plate.
Yeah. And it's not, we talk about it with college football a lot to where it's like, okay, so-and-so wants to come play Texas where you get a big payday.
Right.
You don't get paid for these.
No.
But the good thing is I've talked to a lot of coaches to where it's like, if you're going to take on a Lake Travis or a Cedar Park or one of these schools, what it is, it's a really good test. When you play those elite teams, that's something that's going to make your squad better because you're playing the best of the best.
Before we get to our coaches interviews, let's finish out the districts. So now we go 5A D2 Region 3 District 11. These are some of the Austin schools that didn't go down to 4A: Crockett, Lassa, McCallum, Navarro, Bastrop, Elgin, Liberty Hill, Pflugerville, and Connolly. And what sticks out in my mind is the Liberty Hill Panthers. They should really do well in this district.
Yeah. You kind of look at that, and that's where we talk about it, Rick, to where a lot of people are disappointed, and some people are really happy. I think the Liberty Hill faithful and the Liberty Hill football program is very happy with the way that laid out. And kind of one of the things that I do want to touch on, and I know you with Dr. Elza and your history with the UIL, this is not so much about just region. Obviously we talked about enrollment, but when you start getting into some of these areas, a lot of folks may be irritated with the UIL for whatever reason.
Right.
But put yourself in that seat and you try to balance all of this that you're messing with.
Well, and a lot of the fact that went into AISD having everybody play 5A last year, when truth be told, their schools didn't have 5A enrollments, many of them. They should have been in 4A, the ones that are put in there. It's about budgets and buses. And, I know a lot of AISD schools athletic program can't even get a bus until after 5 o'clock. Yeah. So to get somewhere for the JV and the sub-varsity games up north side of town, try going up Mopac at 5 p.m. And see if you're going to make that game.
Well, and that's and I'm glad that you mentioned that, because a lot of it is, I mean, the emphasis is on the Friday nights,
right?
With this is under the lights. I mean, we talk about Friday night, but it really is. I mean, you've got to think about junior varsity and freshman levels and even middle schools, where all that factors in right there. It's not just about the varsity programs that goes into this, and labor. I mean, it's hard to find people that want to drive buses.
Yeah.
It's hard to find people that want to work at stadiums and all of that. So there's a lot that goes into this with Dr. Elza and everybody at UIL.
Yeah. So we went over 5A D2. Now let's go to the 2 6A districts in the Austin area. 25 6A and 26 6A. At least they kept the same numbers as the last couple of years, which we won't get confused.
I still call it 13 6A when we're doing games.
Yeah, that was the old one. So this is an interesting one, because Hutto comes back to 6A after a few years in 5A. And it's interesting, where was Hutto going to go? Because, we knew that they had to go in one of the districts. Were they going to go into the district with the Waco schools like they were in previously with Weiss? Nope. They went into 25 6A. So the 8 teams that were originally there, Vandergrift, Vista Ridge from Leander ISD, Manor, and then the 5 Round Rock schools, Round Rock, McNeil, Westwood, Cedar Ridge, and Stony Point, will now be joined by Hutto. So Hutto goes into 25 6A, and talking with a few coaches, and we're going to talk to Coach Anthony Wood here in a minute. I talked to a lot of area coaches, and the fact of the matter is there's 5 good teams that aren't going to make the playoffs.
That was the thing this year. I mean, that we saw in 25 6A as it came down to the end right there, where they were just going blow for blow every week, and you had some really good teams that were left out, and that's unfortunate. But it really, when you look at this, and this scenario right here to me is one where, to me, it makes a lot of sense to get Hutto back in this mix. But when you really look at this, and we'll talk about the South schools, you kind of got Manor that's sitting there, and it's like, well, maybe Manor should have been in one of the other spots. And I even saw some stuff, Rick, early on in the week where there were some folks that were saying that Del Valley would go into 25 6A, and that would just be, because this is where you get to this bunch. And I think 25 6A is in a good spot, because when it comes to travel,
right.
I mean, those games are usually all in one spot unless you have to go to Vandy or Manor. So that sets up really nicely. But travel is another one.
It is.
That it gets really tough. And that was tough for Hutto last year when they had to go on the road. So I'm glad they're back, and it's going to make the district better.
So District 26A, otherwise known as Westlake, Lake Travis, and the rest. No, I'm just kidding. Add Dripping Springs in there. So, and that's what makes it even worse. So now you got 7 teams in that district. So you got Westlake, you got Lake Travis, you got Dripping Springs. So that means you've got 4 teams fighting for one spot. And those 4 teams would be Austin, Aikens, Bowie, and Del Valley. Because you basically, if history is correct, and I'm talking multi-year history, not just a few years, you can pencil in Westlake, Lake Travis, and Dripping Springs. Their coaches will say, don't pencil us in. We got to fight and win games. I understand that, but we all know those 3 are going to make the playoffs at the end of the year. Then you got 4 teams fighting for one spot.
That's the tough part with that right there, because it was one thing, because for a long time it was, the Lakes. It was going to be the Lakes, and you had 2 spots. But then when Dripping Springs dove in there, it's like, okay, here you go. I mean, that now you got another major player in there. So it gets extremely tough for that right there. I thought at one point that maybe Buda Johnson would dive into this mix somehow.
Well, they were in there last year.
I know.
And that's interesting that they moved out
to 29.
Yeah. So they were in with these guys last year.
Yeah. And so now, and that's an interesting one, because you've got them, you've got San Marcos, and then I guess Canyon, New Braunfels drops for the first time ever. So it's a lot of shakeup right there. But I mean, you just never know, Rick. I mean, you can talk to those coaches, and they're going to say the same thing, that you got to prepare every week. But I mean, those 3 spots are going to be hard to overtake for any of those schools.
And District 25 and 26, that's first round. So, if Westlake and Lake Travis are in D1, which I believe last year they both were, then that means they're going to be playing the 2 teams from 25 6A in that D1. So a Vandergrift Lake Travis matchup, a Vandergrift Westlake matchup could be possible. And so So those are the districts. Those are the teams. We've got some coaches interview. Before we get to the coaches interview, let's go ahead and hear from two more of our sponsors. We'll be right back. You're watching Under the Lights, presented by Bush's Chicken.
I've always wanted an EV, but until I saw the sleek Ford Mach-E, I didn't know just how exhilarating it could be to drive one. The Mach-E is the perfect balance between power and utility. And with features like adaptive cruise control, in-dash entertainment screen, and lane monitoring, my daily commute to training is effortless. If you're looking to make the move to the Mach-E, visit Covert Ford in Austin, where you'll become part of the family. covertford.com.
The Lodge Poker Club is a members-only card club offering a wide range of daily and tournament gameplay. In Round Rock, just off exit 251 on I-35, the Lodge now boasts the largest card room in Texas with 82 tables, comfortable chairs, and 40 75-inch TVs. The Lodge provides fully trained dealers and on-site security with state-of-the-art camera system to ensure the comfort and safety of our members. Open 24 hours a day. More information at thelodgepokerclub.com or call us at 512-614-4045.
Welcome back to Under the Lights, presented by Bush's Chicken, here with Rick Epstein and Rodney Rodriguez, talking a little realignment. And boy, I was out there and at Kelly Reeves early in the morning and talking with a bunch of coaches. And we're going to play a few of these and talk a little bit about what they said after each one. The first coach that I was able to corral, our good friend, Rodney. Yeah. You are the voice of the Westwood Warriors. How about Coach Anthony Wood?
Well, I tell you, love that guy. Let's take a listen to what he had to say.
We're here with Coach Anthony Wood of the Westwood Warriors. Coach, you got a new opponent in District 25-6A. Added a ninth team. What are your thoughts?
You know, adding Hutto just strengthens our district even more. But, you know, Hutto was in our district a few years ago, so the familiarity with those guys, it will be nothing new. The travel's not bad. They've got nice facilities. Adding a team like Hutto with all the teams and sports and coaches that they have, just strengthens our district. So I'm glad to have them.
It's interesting that the two Austin 6A districts, one has 7 and the other has 9. You think that maybe they could have gone 8 and 8, but you never know what they're thinking.
You know, coming into realignment year and this morning, you only can think you know what's going to happen, and then there's always a curveball somewhere in there. And yeah, I wouldn't have expected a 9 and 7, but that's what we're dealt with. Yeah. And you know, the difficulties with a 9 team, and especially talking from this past year, you know, having an 8-team district with all the tiebreakers that we had in our district, just having a 9th team, the tiebreaker system will have to be discussed. And you're going to leave some really good teams out.
So let's talk before we let you go. 2024 Warriors. Last year, probably the best team in Texas that didn't make the playoffs. You were really playing well throughout the season. It was almost a shocker that you did not qualify for the playoffs. Thoughts about 2024 and how you can use last year to springboard?
Well, and that's really what we've done. We've used it as a motivation tool. We've told our kids, you know, we can. We have no one to blame but ourselves. You know, we lost a game that we shouldn't have lost, and so we've used that to fuel our fire in the off season. And we're expecting now that our kids understand the importance of day in and day out, and play in and play out. And so we're looking forward to the upcoming season, and I think the Warriors are going to be right where we hope they're at, right at the top.
Thank you, Coach.
All right, thank you.
There he goes.
As always optimistic, Coach Anthony Wood. He will get the most out of his teams, Rodney, and you get to see them more than anybody. And they had a great season last year. They let one slip away against Round Rock, and that was the big difference.
Man, that really was a scenario where, and I think that's where when we talk about 25-6A, you know, adding Hutto back into the mix to where there are so many viable quality teams. I mean, Westwood is on the upswing. We saw McNeil. I mean, McNeil, you know, winning a playoff game and making the moves that they made. Folks were counting Round Rock out, and they figured out a way. I mean, you can't count out Craig Cheshire and all of that. So Anthony, definitely, what you got to love about him, he's telling you right now, those Warriors are going to be ready to go.
Oh yeah, they are, and they changed from a passing team to a running team.
Yes,
the last couple teams. We'll see what they do this year, but. Our next coach that we got to chat with, over at the Pflugerville Panthers head coach, Charles Taylor, and let's listen in and see what he had to say about his new district.
We're here with Coach Charles Taylor, the Pflugerville Panthers coach. You found out where your district, 5A D2, thoughts on your new 9-team district?
A little bit surprising. We really weren't expecting that, but we'll take it. I mean, in my book, I always kind of want to get about 3 games in before you start district. We get 2, but we do like our district, and we like our chances.
That's good. You got a good team coming back. Your young team of a few years ago is now getting to be the elder statesman. I know your son at quarterback playing real well. Talk about the 2024 Panthers.
Yeah, I mean, last year we were really young, and but every week we were in every game, and then finally we caught fire at the end, got the playoffs. So we're looking to build on that, and we got just about everybody back. So we're excited.
Thanks so much, Coach.
Yes, sir.
There you go.
Every time I see Coach Taylor, I just think back to the Magical Mystery Tour when he took McCallum to the 5th round. And I tell him every time I see him, every team you have since that McCallum run back in the, I think 2018 maybe, you can tell, hey, it can be done because I saw it with my own eyes. A team with about 30 players, undersized, and make it all the way to the 5th round.
Well, and that's where, we talk about, with LBJs and so forth to where it can be done because we've seen it. And what can you say about Coach Taylor?
He's great.
Mean, it's great that I love that he landed in Pflugerville because Rick, I'm old. I've been here all of my life.
Yeah.
So to me, when you have Round Rock, Pflugerville, Leander, when you have those benchmark schools that are on the upswing and that are doing well, that just kind of lights the fire a little bit for a lot of old timers around here.
No, and he's such a great guy, and his son now who started as a freshman at quarterback, and which is unheard of on the varsity level in Texas football, but now he's got a couple years on the belt. He's no longer the young guy on the field, and he's a great leader, great size, and great quarterback. And so let's go ahead. We got another chance. We've got a few more coaches to talk to. We got a chance to talk with Coach Chris Price of the Leander Lions, and let's hear what Coach Price had to say.
Coach Chris Price of Leander Lions. Coach.
Sorry about that, Rick.
It's all right.
Get him back on there.
Let's get Coach Price back. A little technical difficulties.
A little click happy. Let's try it again.
We're here with Coach Chris Price of Leander Lions. Coach, new district, new year. Your thoughts on the district?
Yeah, it's definitely one that we weren't thinking of going into a new region 2. We have some familiar opponents with Georgetown schools, Eastview and Georgetown High. A couple of new opponents, Lake Belton and Chaparral. So it'll be fun to kind of play some new people and see some new guys running around. So we're excited about it. Like where we are.
2023 was an exciting year for the Lions. What can Lion Nation expect in 2024?
Yeah, we have a lot of guys coming back, especially offensively, a lot of explosive players. So we're excited about the points we have an opportunity to put up. And then defensively, we get a year older, and we think we're going to be pretty good on defense.
Thanks so much, Coach.
Thank you, guys.
Coach Price, such a great guy as well, and a program that is such a storied history program. They've been on lean times the last 10 or so years. But Coach Price, you saw flashes of brilliance the last couple of years where they're so close to turning that corner and getting back to where Leander, people who have followed Leander over the years remember.
Yeah, and it gets so hard because, like we were talking about with the suburbs, with the influx of different schools. I mean, now it's not just one school there anymore. There are lots of other high schools, and that's it's a byproduct of just the growth that we're seeing around here that we were talking about early on. But again, when you have a guy like Coach Price at the helm right there, one of those anchor schools that I like to call them, they're definitely in good hands.
Yeah, moving right along, we had a great chance to sit down with maybe one of the most winningest coaches in the last 10 years, the head coach of the Dripping Springs Tigers, Galen Zimmerman. And let's hear what Coach Zimmerman had to say.
Video. Okay. Here with Coach Galen Zimmerman of the Dripping Springs Tigers. Coach, your district dropped a few teams. You're down to 7 teams in the district. Your thoughts on the new district?
Well, it's kind of the first time since I've been in Dripping Springs we've actually had pretty much the same district. It's always been completely different. So this will be good. There'll be a little continuity. We know each other. Staying close to home, because I know there was some opportunities for us to go travel. So I think it's good, staying around the area. Again, we go from a 9-team to a 7-team. So we're still an odd team district, but I think it helps a little bit, especially the other sports outside of football with scheduling and different things like that. So
makes it tough for the non-district schedule. You got to get on your horse now.
Yeah, in football, yeah. I think in some other sports it allows them to play some different teams and do some different things, some freedom. Because in a 9-team you're basically playing a game and going right into district and in teams like soccer and baseball, volleyball, those sort of things. So this will give them a little opportunity, pick up some non-districts against some different opponents.
Final question: what can Dripping Springs Nation expect to see from your squad this year?
Well, from football,
yes.
I think we're going to be young. I think we've got opportunity to continue to build, on some of the success that we've had. We've got kids that are working hard in off season. I love to watch them. But we're going to be young. It's going to a little bit depend on how fast we grow up. But I like the attitude of our kids. I like the effort of our kids right now. So we fully expect to compete. Compete with everybody in our district. And I know that's a tall order.
Look forward to having you back on Under the Lights again this year. Thanks, Coach.
All right, appreciate it.
My good friend Galen Zimmerman, and just once I did hear one coach, the godfather of coaches, Craig Cheshire in the Austin area, now over 30 years in coaching.
Wow.
He's the only coach I've ever heard who said, "We're not young anymore." Every coach you talk to, we're a young team, but we'll be scrappy. Coach Cheshire said, "We're not young anymore."
Yeah.
He was ready. Yeah. But what do you think? Galen Zimmerman, just a tremendous winner out there at Dripping Springs, and they go toe-to-toe with the big boys.
They do. And that community to see just how they rally around that group is really cool to see. One thing that Galen kind of talked about, Coach Zimmerman talked about right there is, and a lot of this, of course, is centered around football. I mean, that's where we go. But something that he touched on right there with realignment right there, that really does open the doors up, for basketball and volleyball and all that, to where it not necessarily what you see for football. It may be a little different for some of those other sports as well.
Yeah, and I got a kick out of you're talking football? Yes. IHS fan is only talking football. We love the other sports. We may do a few basketball and baseball games, but football is our real house. We'll talk football year round.
That's right.
And I think going in, we've got 2 more interviews left. Got a chance to sit down with somebody we haven't really talked a lot to in our shows over the years, the head coach of the Elgin Wildcats, Heath Clausen. Here's Coach Clausen.
Coach, new district 11 with a 19 district. Thoughts on where you wound up?
Yeah, I'm excited for our kids and our programs. I feel good about who we're in with. We're going to be competitive with them. We added Liberty Hill and Bastrop. Bastrop's been a big rivalry and right down the road from us, so that'll be great for our kids and our programs. Liberty Hill, we've been playing at the middle school level, so we're familiar with them, and our kids are familiar with them. So that's going to be a nice change up for us at the high school level. And being back in with the AISD schools, is good for travel for sure. So
great for travel. Interesting. 19. It's 19th district, correct?
Yes, sir. Yeah, we're going from a 7 to a 9.
Yeah, so that means a lot of good teams may not make the playoffs, but it will give you a little easier time scheduling your non-district schedule.
Yeah, I did. I actually had to drop 2 that I had, scheduled, anticipating a potential 17, district. but yeah, it helps with that. We already had our first 2 weeks locked in, and so I knew a 19 was possible, right? But I wasn't expecting it. I thought we could be an 8-team or a 7-team, but we got a 9-team, so here we go.
Thoughts? What can Wildcat Nation expect from your squad in 2024?
I think they're going to see a lot of improvement. We had some young guys that played some important roles for us last year that are really working hard, since the season's been over. And so I know that they're going to step up and be that much better next year. And we've got some kids that were really good on the JV that could have played varsity football last year, but, we wanted them to get some more experience instead of sitting behind some seniors. And so I'm excited about those kids moving up. So I feel like, we've got a good shot to be better this next year.
Thanks, Coach.
Thank you.
Coach Clausen of the Elgin Wildcats, and every time I think of the Elgin Wildcats, I think of Southside Market and getting some sausage. What about you, Rodney?
That's why we need to get them in Lockhart back in the same thing, and maybe throw Luling in there. But I think Luling's a little too small. I really like that district right there for Elgin. I mean, that's when you think about the smaller towns right there. Being a small town guy myself, I mean, when you get the Bastrops and the Elgins, and that's kind of those good old rivalries that you have right there. But again, Elgin's another one of those programs where you just consistently see them. Maybe they don't get all the love of some of the other schools, but man, they are consistently good.
Yeah,
and that's a good sign of what he's talking about right there. You heard him address that, the underclassmen. I mean,
Absolutely.
You've got folks in the sub-varsity that are ready to make a play.
We were able to talk with one more coach. Well, we talked to a bunch, but we had to limit it due to today's show. But the last coach we'll talk to today, the head coach of the Lake Travis Cavaliers, Hank Carter. Let's listen to what Coach Carter had to say.
Here with Coach Hank Carter of the Lake Travis Cavaliers. Coach, new district, 7 teams. Your thoughts on the new district?
Well, I would always prefer that we have 11-team district. That way we don't have to go hunt non-district opponents. I actually think the smaller district's going to be really good for other sports like volleyball, soccer, baseball. But yeah, we're just trying to make sure we can lock in a 10-game schedule right now. But obviously very familiar with the folks in our district. It's great. We already got our organizational meeting done. Know everybody, all the leadership, and so it's been a good partnership so far. We'll keep it going.
Before we let you go, 2024 Cavaliers, what can your fans expect?
I think we're going to have a good team. We need to fill some spots on the offensive line, obviously, and some secondary guys, but we've got a lot of great kids that are working hard.
Thanks so much, Coach.
Yep, thank you. All right.
Yeah, we had to cut that short. He was so kind to give us a little time. He was racing out the door. I said, Coach, can you give me 1 minute? And I said, I promise it's 1 minute. And I think I did that. But Coach Carter, last year, from the Lake Travis standpoint, if you're a Lake Travis fan, you expect to be in Jerry World in December. Didn't happen last year, but they're always in the hunt. And as Coach Carter says, I expect to be good. That's their team expectations every year. We are going to be good.
It's a standard. It really is a standard there at Lake Travis with what he has built. And we were talking about 26-6A. We can say 3-horse race, and it really is. I mean, looking at it going this way, because that Coach Salazar and Coach Carter, that they're going to have, like we were just talking about, they've got all the bullets ready to go. I mean, they've got the folks that are going to dive in and take the spots that need to happen. So looking forward to that one again. I do want to ask you, didn't really get to mention this to you before we started, our man, Coach Dodge.
Yes.
Coach Dodge back in you can't keep a good man down, right?
Yeah, he wound up in Lovejoy? No,
Lucas Lovejoy.
Yeah, Lovejoy. Had to get back into coaching. I think he did that to get a little closer to his son, who's also, of course, up in South Lake, coaching the South Lake. So they'll be both up in the Metroplex area. Good luck to Coach Dodge, a true Texas legend coach, several state championships with both South Lake and Westlake. Before we wrap things up and some final thoughts, let's go ahead and hear from our title sponsor and Covert Ford, Bush's Chicken and Covert Ford. You're listening and watching to Under the Lights, presented by Bush's Chicken.
Bush's Chicken is a proud supporter of area schools, athletic programs, and booster clubs. With stores in Cedar Park, Round Rock, Georgetown, both North and South Austin, and our newest store serving Pflugerville and Hutto, Bush's serves the Texas standard in real hand-battered fried chicken and crispy tenders, tasty rolls, and that famous Bush's sweet tea. Bush's Chicken, proud supporter of area schools, athletic programs, and booster clubs. The Texas standard. Bush's Chicken. It's good, good, good.
I've always wanted an EV, but until I saw the sleek Ford Mach-E, I didn't know just how exhilarating it could be to drive one. The Mach-E is the perfect balance between power and utility, and with features like adaptive cruise control, in-dash entertainment screen, and lane monitoring, my daily commute to training is effortless. If you're looking to make the move to the Mach-E, visit Covert Ford in Austin, where you'll become part of the family. covertford.com.
Welcome back to Under the Lights, presented by Bush's Chicken. As we wrap things up, I do want to ask you to like and subscribe to our channel. You'll not only see Under the Lights all season long coming up in the fall, you'll also see whatever webcast football games that we do. And as always, IHS Fan provides all of this free to the end user. So free for you, the viewer. So watch and like and subscribe to our YouTube channel as we continue to grow this thing. Share this with other folks. YouTube is going to be our platform going forward. I think it was a good move to move from the radio to YouTube. It's the future of this program to give you an audio and video experience at your leisure. Watch whenever you want to watch.
Yeah, that really is the nice caveat to it. I know a lot of folks, hey, I love radio. I'm a radio nerd. I know you like, all of that right there. But this really is the way of the future. I mean, because it really is. I mean, with mobile devices, and it's so easy to consume this content.
Right.
And I think what's great for IHS Fan for Under the Lights, because we've seen it with the webcast network, is it's so easy for it to grow. Because all you have to do is you can just share this stuff and you have it locked in right there. You can set a reminder. You want to watch Under the Lights, at whatever time it's going to be, boom, it tells you and it takes you right to it. So definitely the wave of the future. Really excited about what we got going on this year.
Yeah. And, if you're like me, I mean, I use my CarPlay in the car and stream YouTube videos, listen to YouTube videos in my car when I'm driving. So I think it's a good thing for us. And it not only that, it'll archive everything. So if you want to rewatch something 6 weeks later and see how it aged, did it age well? You'll be able to see that. And Rodney, I'm super excited. You've contributed so much over the years. I don't feel like it's something that you were introducing the IHS Fan audience to. Yeah. You're the voice of the Westwood Warriors over the years, but I'm looking forward to having a lot of fun this year.
It's going to be a good time. Glad to be a part of this, Rick. I think 2024 is going to be a great year for IHS Fan, for the Webcast Network, and for high school football in Central Texas.
Yeah, so look for us as we get closer to the season. We'll probably start our shows about a week before the season and preview. And look for the magazine, which will be hitting the streets sometime in early June. The magazine celebrating our 10th anniversary of shining the spotlight on Austin area high school football. And this will be our 9th season of this show, Austin's longest running show of its kind, showcasing and highlighting Austin area coaches, players, and teams. Until we meet again in August, we'll see you under the lights.